A single clay tablet, broken in two, was found buried in the ash of a crumbling palace. It came from a kingdom that no longer exists, from a king whose name was forgotten, from a moment when someone was still trying, desperately, to hold the world together. The message was simple and final. When your forces come, they will be too late. The enemy is already here. Our cities burn. Our gods are silent. Help us. That tablet was never answered, because by the time help might have come, there was no one left to receive it. The kingdom was gone, and not just that kingdom, but nearly all of them, because the world collapsed. The man who wrote that plea was Amurapi, last king of Ugarit, a port city once alive with ships and spices, scribes and singers, gods and granite. But none of that mattered anymore. Around 1190 BCE, Amurapi took a stylus and pressed his final hope into clay. Not a contract, not a hymn, just a desperate letter to a neighboring king, likely the ruler of Alashia, what we now call Cyprus. He didn't follow any royal protocols. There were no blessings from the gods, no long-winded introductions, just fire at the gates and panic in the streets. The voice of someone who had run out of options, and that's what makes it hit so hard. Most tablets from the Bronze Age are routine. They record taxes, grain shipments, prayers to distant deities. This one begged for survival. But it was found sealed in a kiln, never delivered, never read. Amurapi's last attempt to summon help was buried before it could be answered. In that one object, we glimpse a king who hadn't given up yet. A man still trying to stop the wave that was about to drown everything. And it came from Ugarit, a kingdom that once seemed untouchable. Ugarit wasn't a backwater, it was a jewel of the Eastern Mediterranean, a crossroads between Egypt, the Hittites, the Mycenaeans, and the Levant. Its markets pulsed with cedar from Lebanon and tin from the mountains. Its palaces were filled with scribes who wrote in both cuneiform and a unique alphabetic script we call Ugaritic, one of the earliest known alphabets. They composed hymns to Baal and Anat. They cataloged rituals and treaties. They sent ships filled with copper and linen and ivory. Ugarit was a place where the ancient world came to trade, to worship, and to write. But by the time Amurapi picked up his stylus, the world was unraveling. Trade routes had slowed. The Hittite Empire, once a regional superpower, was cracking under pressure. Egypt was bleeding from repeated invasions by mysterious raiders, the so-called Sea Peoples. Refugees spilled into cities like Ugarit, carrying rumors of collapse and fire. Grain prices soared. The gods were strangely quiet. And in the east, new enemies were stirring. We don't know for sure who Amurapi's enemy was. It could have been the Sea Peoples. It could have been internal revolt. It might have been both. But whoever it was, they came fast, and the city didn't stand a chance. When the letter was written, hope still existed. By the time archaeologists uncovered it thousands of years later, the palace it came from had been reduced to blackened rubble. Its archive, a collection of thousands of clay tablets, was frozen in time. The scribes had stopped mid-sentence. The styluses were still on the desks, and no one ever came back. After that final letter, there was nothing. No records, no trade, no rebuilding, just silence. Ugarit vanished. For more than 3,000 years, the city's name went unspoken. No one remembered Amurapi. No one remembered the gods of Ugarit. The city had not only fallen, it had been erased. And this is what makes that tablet so powerful. It didn't survive because it was meant to be preserved. It survived because it failed, because it was buried and forgotten, and because clay, once hardened in fire, doesn't go quietly. When modern archaeologists uncovered the site of Ras Shamra in Syria in the 20th century, they weren't looking for a lost city. But what they found stunned them. An entire royal archive preserved in ash. Letters, contracts, hymns, and in the middle of it all, this broken message from a dying king. It's not dramatic. It doesn't describe battles or great speeches. It's just a man begging someone to come. And no one did. But through it, Ugarit spoke again. And it raises a question we rarely think about. We remember the cities that fell in battle, the kings who went down fighting. But what about the ones who whispered, who asked for help and were met with silence? That letter is more than a relic. It's a ghost, a memory caught between survival and oblivion. Most civilizations fall with fire. Ugarit fell with a whisper. And it leaves us with something hauntingly human. Because if you knew your world was ending, what would you write? Would it be a plea, a confession, a blessing for those who might come after? And more importantly, would anyone find it? Hammurabi didn't live forever, but his voice, pressed into a scrap of clay, reached across 3 millennia. Not because he won, not because he conquered, but because he tried to hold on to his people, to his city, to the last fragile hope that someone, somewhere, might still care. There is no ending to this story, no grand final act, just silence and ash, and the echo of a name barely remembered. And yet, we heard him. If stories like this change how you see the past, if you believe history isn't just about the winners, but also those who vanished mid-sentence, subscribe. Because not every empire ends with conquest. Some end with a letter that no one ever answered. This is Age of Past.